Right, a little introduction to some audio processing ideas with the BugBrand modular. We've got two audio sources going, they're just sort of running along free. First one's a 606 up here, which goes into the dual preamp UTL1 first input channel. So that's coming out there, down the bottom, and going straight into the output mixer, so that's the dry signal at the moment. The other channel is coming from a monopoly over there. It's just a droning chord. Again, turn it up on here. So that's just a static pad sound. So we've got the two outputs just going straight into the dry channels on the output mixer. That's the basic setup. So the first thing we're going to do is process the 606 drum machine through the BugCrusher module, which we're going to set to the audio rate and use the internal oscillator, so that will be controlled here. All we're going to have to do there is take the output of the drum machine from the preamp into the input at the bottom of the BugCrusher, then take the output to one of the spare channels on the UTL2 output mixer. So we'll turn up the 606 again. At the moment that's just set so it's the dry signal coming through. We'll turn that down on the mixer and turn up the output of the BugCrusher. So we can now adjust that with the rate control here. We'll turn up the toms on the 606. We've got a crossfade control here, so you can mix between the signals manually, and there's also a tone control here. We'll just leave that for the moment and let's have a look at the monopoly audio. Okay, the first thing we're going to do with the monopoly is process it through one of the state variable SV filters, the PRC2. So again, we take the audio output from the preamp, so this is channel 2 output, and we'll take it into the input up here of one of the state variable filters, and then again an output, so we've got various different outputs down at the bottom here, into, this is the final channel of the output mixer. Let's turn that up. At the moment we've got low pass selected here. You've got on the filter low pass, band pass, switchable, and then if you jump to the other output you've got high pass and notch. We'll start with the low pass. Turn the cutoff dial right up, and let's turn up that channel. So first of all the dry signal, turn that down, and now let's hear the wet signal. Turn the resonance down, let's turn the cutoff down. So that's just manually adjusting the cutoff, and bring some resonance in. Band pass, high pass, like that, and notch gives a sort of phasing effect. Let's put it back to the low pass. So that's droning away happily there. We can manually tweak that, but let's automate it. Let's use the sequencer, Seq1, down here to basically tweak the cutoff. And what we'll do for that is we'll use the trigger out, the low tom trigger out of the 606, and get that to clock the sequencer, and then use the sequencer output to adjust the cutoff. Usually you would use a special grounding cable into the system ground to connect up an external trigger, but because we've already established a ground connection via the audio connection of the 606 into the preamp, we just need to use a simple jack to banana to go between them. So, low tom trigger out, plug that into the clock input of the sequencer. See, that's starting to go now. That's basically going whenever the low tom triggers, so at the moment we've got that every 4 beats going here. Let's listen to that actually. So that's stepping along there. I've set up a sort of pretty arbitrary sequence here and got it going through a little bit of glide. Let's use blue output cable to take the CV output, or actually the glide output from there, into the filter cutoff input there, which of course has got the attenuator as well. So we'll turn that up to so let's add in a few more low tom triggers. And let's turn up the resonance a bit. The next thing I want to do is to put a low pass gate after the state variable filter to provide a bit of dynamic change as well as the tonal change to the monopoly signal. So we'll take that output out, plug it into one of the outs of the low pass gate, and taking another green cable we will take again the low pass output of the state variable filter into the second low pass gate of this dual low pass gate, the PRC4 that we've got here. That's set to low pass mode, LP mode. We've got the manual control there. Let's just turn that up again a bit. And we're going to ping this low pass gate with one of the sequencer gate outputs, which is set to gated, gate length, and then you switch the switches there to get the rhythm going. So another blue cable, gate A out into the CV2 input of this. And whenever that hits one of the switches for gate A, that basically pings the low pass gate open. And of course that is combined with what's going on with the SV filter. What I'm actually going to do is open the low pass gate just a little bit, so that gives sort of a bit like accents really there. So we've added some nice modulation to the monopoly signal through the filter and the low pass gate. Now let's get back to the drum machine sound and modulate the BugCrusher. What we'll do for that is use the second trigger output of the 606, the high tom trigger output. Take the mini jack to banana cable, and we'll get that to clock the divisions module, the clock 2A down there. We'll take, so what that's doing is every time the high tom triggers, put a couple more of those on, that steps the different divisions here. So what we'll do is we'll use the DD2 DC mixer to combine two of those signals and then use that to modulate the BugCrusher sample rate. So let's first of all connect the DC mixer out into the CV modulation input of the BugCrusher, and then let's take two of the division outputs and plug those into the two inputs of the DC mixer. And what we'll do is we'll use number 3 and number 5. I often choose these fairly randomly. So now let's turn up the first one. And basically whenever that one's going on, we turn that up a little bit from the centre position. That means that it's basically raising the rate every time that light goes on there. And then we'll turn the 5 one down a bit from the centre position. And every time that one is selected, it pushes the rate down somewhat. So the combination of the two, and however often we're getting it triggered on the 606 sequencer, will determine the sort of rate of the BugCrusher here. So let's hear that a bit more. So there you can still very much hear the 606 original sound, but you've also got this sort of rhythmicised modulation degradation sort of sound, which I think is really nice. Let's do one final thing and put the BugCrusher signal, so the modified 606 signal, through the PT delay. So let's just unplug the output of that and instead patch to one of the audio inputs of PT delay, and then onwards back to that mixer channel. So you've got manual time control here, feedback, which can go to overload, and then a manual dry wet control there. So let's put a little bit of the delay signal in, and hear how crunchy it goes down at low delay time settings. Let's slow this down a lot. If we set the delay time to a very short sort of one, that's a nice sort of sound, then we can again use the division module and let's take output 4 of that and feed it into the CV input of the delay, and now turn that up, and every time that one goes on it will change the delay tone. By subtle adjustment of the CV2 input depth control, you can get it so it will jump between 2 different delay times, which can make really interesting rhythmic sort of effects.